Hello everyone, this is Shooter Fantasy, and I was quite literally starting to get ready for bed, and I decided to go through some of my old videos that I posted on this channel, and about 3 years ago-ish, December 12th, 2017, I posted a video talking about why game development is difficult, and I'll link the video for people who want to actually watch that. But it's what, July 11th now, and it's 2020. It's been presumably 3 years since I made that video, or a little less than 3 years maybe. I think. I don't know. I'll check my math when I'm actually not as tired. But bottom line, I figured I'd expand upon just things I've talked about. I've worked on a few more game projects since then. I've been working on a lot of paid projects, and I'll just talk about some of my experience. So for over 3 years, there was one game project that I started working on, and I started working on this project in 2015. It was called Project NOR, and the basic premise was that you would do team-based matches, and your main game mechanics where you could stun people, you could teleport people away from you, and what else? Oh, you could EMP people, and you could spawn blockades. So at the time, I was like, well, this gameplay is going to be different. It's going to, be interesting and fun. And one limitation I set for myself when making Project NOR was that, I'm going to just get rid of one mechanic. I want to make a first-person shooter game, but I'm going to get rid of the one mechanic that a lot of first-person shooters rely on, which is shooting other players to kill them. Like in most first-person shooters, the main way you deal with other players is you kill them, they're dealt with, and then you're no longer near the objective, say a flag that you're trying to protect or a territory you're trying to protect. All you got to do is you kill the player, they're dealt with. But I found when I got rid of the death mechanic, it created some interesting things, which is, okay, if you can't kill the player, how the heck do you get them away from the objective? How do you keep them away from the flag? How do you get them out of your territory? In the game, if you stunned a player, they would be stunned for about, I think, 5 or 10 seconds, I think. And then, in those 5 or 10 seconds, the player can't move, they can't do anything. And then, after the stun expires, they're still in the same location. But, okay. But you can teleport players away from you. So, your main thing would be, okay, I'm going to stun the player, and I'm going to teleport them away from me. Great. The player's gone. You have a cooldown, though. And one thing I wanted to reinforce is I wanted to really reinforce teamwork. I want people to actually communicate with each other and, work together in groups. Not just one-man armying and having one person who carries the entire team. I wanted to just find a creative way to just abolish that. So, okay, your main way to get rid of players in Project NOR is to stun them and teleport them, but the teleport has a cooldown. And I think the cooldown was 5 or 10 seconds. So, okay, if you're dealing with just one player and you get them out of the objective, you stun them, you teleport them, you're out of the objective. Great. But, oh no, that person had a second person along with them. That person's now going to stun me and teleport me away from the objective, and now they have the objective. So now you're in a situation where you have to have equal numbers helping. one person cannot take on two players at all. The ability to one-man army is just not there anymore. Now you can stun both players. Yes, you can stun both players and teleport one of them. But the other player's going to get up in 5 or 10 seconds, and they're just going to be getting ready to take you out once they're back up again. But in that 5 or 10 seconds they're stunned, maybe one of your teammates can quickly hop in and teleport them away for you. The thing is, though, is that it's hard to tell if any of these mechanics are fun, if people would actually like them, if people would actually want to play them with them. But I worked on this game project for over 3 years thinking, you know what, these are things that I think might be cool and might be fun to play. And I'll just put this out when it's ready, and, you know, ideally people like it. I think I did 2 Kickstarters for the same project, but I'm bad at marketing, so both Kickstarters failed. And also, maybe my pitch wasn't that great. But yeah, your main mechanics were you could stun players, you could teleport players away from you, you could EMP a group of players, and you could spawn blockades to prevent players from getting where they needed to go. The whole concept of the game was just crowd control, really. You and your team have to be better at crowd control than the other team. And that's about it. But, you know, the biggest killer for that game was that after 3 years of working on the game over 3 years of working on the game by myself, I realized that the game needed a lot more work. It still needed a lot more work. Like, a lot of stuff was functional. A lot of stuff was working. A lot of stuff was functionally there, but if you don't have a bunch of people testing the game, if you don't have play testers, you don't know if the game's good, you don't know if the mechanics are fun, you're not getting suggestions to improve the game, you're not getting any feedback. And a game with no feedback ends up being a game that's meant for no one, because you didn't get critical feedback early on or soon enough or what have you. One of the best ways to get feedback, or one of the best ways to make a game that people actually want to play, is to get feedback throughout development, even if that's having employees, which I can't afford, obviously, which is why I was making a game by myself. But there's other things too, like art direction. I had a very simplistic art direction, and, you know, a lot of games, they need a polished visual look to them, and that's just not something I was able to do. And, you know, the visuals, they say visuals in the game don't matter as much as the gameplay, but the visuals still do matter. You need a look that looks nice to look at. Otherwise, people just won't connect with the game as much, and it just won't, people won't feel it as much. And when I say the game has to look good, it doesn't necessarily have to look ultra realistic, but it has to look cohesive. Everything has to look nice and pretty. And, you know, one of my biggest downfalls is I cannot do that myself. Like, I'm not I can use Blender, I can use SketchUp, I can use these tools, and I know how they work. I can rig character models, but knowing how to use a tool and actually being talented enough to make something that's visually appealing are two separate things. And that's just not something I've ever been able to do. So, Project NOR, functionally, as a tech demo, you know, it worked, but to become a full-fledged game, it needed a lot more work. And I was getting to a point where I need to actually be making income. Working on Project NOR was a free time thing. I was not making money from it. I was not getting any money in from working on that, and eventually you'd have to decide, well, you know, I'm going to have to start taking up contract work to actually make money, to actually make an income that I can live on. So I just hop from project to project at this point in time, people come to me, and they're like, hey, we got this project we want you to work on. I start working on it, and that's that. Now, there are points in time where if I don't have any contract work, there's one other project I started. It was a kart racing project. And I'm not going to say that project's dead in the water, but it is a project where it's at a point where it works functionally. All the mechanics are working, but it needs a lot more polish, and it needs art. It needs art that actually looks good, and that isn't just taken from the Unity asset store, because I'm not talented enough to make art myself. But my second project, I've technically made more than one project, but I'm going to say this is my second project that, you know, I want to like have it go somewhere. I want to be able to sell it for money and, you know, have people play this thing. So I decided, you know what, I think I was playing Diddy Kong Racing, and I was like, you know what, you know, this is a game from my childhood that I really liked, and I'm surprised that no company has made anything like this ever again. Like, a game where you can, like, literally drive 3 vehicle types on one map. I mean, technically not all the levels support every vehicle, but the fact that you could, you know, change what your vehicle type, you could, like, drive in a kart. Excuse me. You could drive in a kart, you could drive in a hovercraft, you could drive in an airplane. You had 3 different vehicle types in one game. So I was like, well, how hard would it be to recreate these game mechanics in Unity? How hard would it be to just, you know, make something that feels like Diddy Kong Racing did? So I decided to work on it. And in about a week, I had all the vehicles kind of functional. They needed tweaking, and lots of it, and still do need a lot of tweaking, but they're a lot better now. But I put in a week, I was like, wow, I've got the vehicle types here. They're functional. Maybe I could actually turn this into a game. And I was sharing my progress as I was doing it. I have previous people I've done work for where, you know, I'm usually on good terms with most of the people I work with. And I think I worked on a project with this person. I'd worked on a project with this person for about 8 or 9 months. But I was sharing, you know, my progress as I went along. And I think they started to kind of get interested. But I was like, okay, for this kart racing project, I'm not a good artist. My other project kind of fell flat on its face because it didn't have an artist. But okay, I'm working on this game. Its mechanics are based on something that people really might be craving. You know, I wanted to make a spiritual successor to Diddy Kong Racing. So I'm like, okay, well, obviously this might be a game that people would actually want to play. I mean, you've got Crash Team Racing, Nitro Fueled, which is a remaster of a PS1 game, and look how well that game's doing. I'm sure that there's people who crave a Diddy Kong Racing, you know, spiritual successor, or obviously people want an actual successor to it, but a spiritual successor is better than nothing, right? So I'm figuring there's got to be an empty market for that. But of course, I'm also thinking, like, it can't be exactly the same. It's going to have some different mechanics. So I was like, okay, well, I'll add, you know, I played some Crash Team Racing before I heard about the remake that was happening. And so I played the original PS1 game, and I was enjoying it a lot, actually. So I was like, you know what, this boost mechanic, I find it way more satisfying than Mario Kart 8's boost mechanic. And what if I implemented this boost mechanic into, you know, my spiritual successor to Diddy Kong Racing? What if I added a boost mechanic, added some stuff to make it more modernized, make it so that if you jump off, like, hilltops and ramps before you land, you get an extra boost too, stuff like that. So I added those features in, And I was getting to a point where like a lot of the stuff was starting to feel nice and good. And at some point I'm like, okay, well, I need art for this project. So I posted an ad, and I was basically saying, okay, this is going to be rev share. It's going to be rev share for part of the Kickstarter that happens for this project. And basically, I need someone who can, give this game an art direction. And then I also need to find someone who can 3D model the stuff, the concept art that's created for this project. And I got someone who was willing to actually do that and provide some art direction. And really cool person, really talented. They came up with a bunch of sketches that were pretty freaking awesome. So I'm like, oh wow, these are way better than I could do. So I'm just thinking, okay, well, I want to be able to get a Kickstarter done, and hopefully this helps, just fund this project, because I felt the idea was strong, the game mechanics were, the tech demo I was building was fairly strong, and I may actually be showing some gameplay as I'm talking here, just so you guys can see just the state it's in. But yeah, lots of high hopes. I was doing just moving a lot faster than the project I spent 3 years on was, or over 3 years on was, and it had a base that was a lot stronger. Everything about it just felt stronger. So this person who's doing the concept art, he also apparently does some other stuff, like project management and stuff as well. So I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I wouldn't mind having a person who wants to help manage the project and keep things on track and all that stuff, because for me, I'm not a very organized person. I'm spontaneous. I kind of work on the fly. I just work on things that I notice and see and whatnot. I'm not organized. I need to be told what to do by a manager or something, to some degree. Even though I'm the one creating this project, having someone who keeps me on track, something that I see as beneficial. So anyway, me and this person are talking about the game, different mechanics, all this stuff, and obviously this other person seemed just as hyped about the concept as I was. And so they were willing to do this rev share thing, and they're even willing to help with the Kickstarter as well. And apparently they were even, seeing if maybe they could get in contact with some investors and all that stuff. So that was cool. Well, I'd been sharing progress with another person or a previous client that I didn't work with, and they eventually were interested at some point too. They're like, I'm probably going to paraphrase a lot of it. I don't want to get too specific, but they wanted to help give some funding to the game as well. So they're a person I trusted, and so I'm thinking, yeah, I need having some sort of funding that can help the project is something that. So I was thinking that having some kind of funding is definitely important for this project. Bringing on investors, I don't know, and might want to impose their own restrictions. I wasn't so sure about. So this client that I didn't work with in the past, I kind of trusted them a little more. But, so the person who was doing the project management stuff, awesome guy, and the other person who wanted to start helping put money into this project. Awesome person as well. So I'm thinking, okay, I got these two awesome people that are interested in this project. I think it's going to be time I should, introduce them, and I should, combine the resources of both these people. So these people, or we get into a call, introduce ourselves and everyone, and we have a few calls where we discuss what we're going to do with the project and where we're going to try and take it and all this stuff. But then a little bit of clashing started to begin, and I can't. Big thing is I'm not very good at reading between the lines. I don't think I'm the type of person who's good at managing things or keeping people in check or whatever. I was just hoping that, you put two really talented people together and you just get gold. Not always the case. These two people are the types of people who they make projects, they make things happen, but they kind of started clashing, and I didn't really mediate the decisions between them. I did not make it clear that I am the person who makes the final call. I think both of them kind of thought that they would have some autonomy over the project, which, I mean, the expectation is that I have full autonomy, but I did want to give some autonomy to, like, for art direction. I'm like, yeah, I know jack shit about art direction, so art direction person, you just handle that. You do that. So he wanted to, I guess, bring in his own people, right? Get some other people who are like art students or something in college to kind of help with this rev share thing. And the goal was to get a Kickstarter demo with nice art and everything, just have the best possible first impression for people to start backing money for this project, this kart racing project I wanted to do. And so the biggest thing was, okay, art direction guy who super talented, super cool, but I've been working for this person I've been working with this person for less time, and then I've got this other person who's a client that I worked for in the past, and they've got money to help back this project. They've got people who are programmers, they've got people who do art, and this person has just people that they already know. They can just bring them on, whatever, and actually just pay them from the get-go. No rev share, just pay them. Pay them to help get this demo out there. So there's some clashing just between ideologies of just what they wanted to do and whatnot, and I think at some point I was just waiting for, it got to a point where I had to make a decision. It was either I work with one guy or I work with the other guy. I couldn't work with both of them, which was not the resolution I wanted. I wanted to pool these two really strong individuals and have a product that's just as strong as it can possibly be. But when you have two people who end up in a position where they're that conflicted that I have to now pick one or the other, well, the end result ended up being neither of them. And not because I picked neither of them, but because it's just, at that point, things just start to fall apart. So, okay, I'm like, fine. I gotta make a decision between two of them. I trust one of them. I've worked with one of them longer than the other. So I think that person was going to talk with some of their partners about funding and whatnot. And so I'm waiting on them. And then the art direction guy, they had some people who, they had some like college students or university students who are doing 3D modeling and stuff, and they are waiting on my call to be like, okay, yeah, you guys can do it and start working on art. I had to either choose one guy doing the art or the other guy doing the 3D art. So I end up waiting on the person who I've been working with longer, and they eventually get back to me and they're like, yeah, so I was talking with my partners, and to be honest, we don't know that too much about kart racing games. We don't know how successful this project would be. It might be too risky. So, okay, that option went away. Well, I waited so long for that person to get back to me that the other person, I guess the students didn't have time to do it anymore, I think is what happened. And so that option also went away. So, okay, I'm back to square one. I've got a tech demo that works. I have no solution for the art. So now I've got this tech demo that functionally works, but does not look visually stunning enough to really capture anyone's attention. And that's a problem. So, and the other thing too is I need to find a way for this project to bring in money. Because if it's not bringing in money, I'm going to be in the same situation where I was before, where I'm working on a project in my free time and I'm not making money doing it, so I can't put all my efforts into it. And so this project's going to be just as dead as any other project I've worked on my own. So eventually I just started doing contract work again, and I've barely touched that project now. And it kind of sucks when you get a game idea, you start working on it, and you get it functionally working, and you just can't get it past the tech demo stage because you don't got funding, you don't got art people, you don't got the resources. And it can be kind of annoying, if I'm being honest. Money is one of the biggest problems of game development, but also just directing people. I don't think I was built for it. I just assume that if you put people that you personally trust together, it just works. But maybe I'm just too good at getting along with people that I just cannot see why people get into arguments, or see why people just may not like each other. Like, I feel like I'm the type of person where I just somehow get on the best side of most people. Unless that person already had a chip on their shoulder before I walked in the room for the first time. Most people, I have generally been on most people's good side. I make very little enemies. But I have noticed when I put people that I can personally be around in the same room together, and these people are just meeting each other, shit hits the fan. So, I don't know. I don't know how that works. So, yeah. It's interesting. And at this point, I feel like I'm a little rambly, but I figured I'd just share some just insights of, you know, what it's like to try and work on my own projects where they are now. So yeah, I'll see you guys next video maybe, and hopefully this was semi-coherent, and I guess I'll go to bed. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time.